Reinforcements en route. Incoming hostiles detected.
An outcast has fallen.
They're moving on the flank. You gotta move.
Crap, they have a seal!
Heavily armored hostile detected.
Hostiles detected.
Agent, we got a nuclear reactor powering.
Coming up. Fire! Heads up! Crap! Right on!
Complete.
What's up guys, Wolf here. Welcome to another Division 2 video. Hopefully you did enjoy the gameplay. In this video, I'm going to showcase my best Backfire build. Now this setup is going to be for the most difficult content or from heroic and below. It doesn't matter. You can use it in any PvE content in the game. You may also use this in PvP, but it's quite tricky to stack it up. But if you can, this actually does work really well in conflict or in the dark zone. It's quite a simple build to use. All you guys need to know is that you want to stack up the Backfire, which gives you up to 200% critical hit damage. And the downside is you get put on the bleed, so we want to try and get our hazard protection up. I would say no less than like 65-70%. I have got 95%. I'm pretty much immune. I can increase it or decrease it. It depends. It doesn't really bother me at all. I would even recommend going for less hazard, but I wanted to make sure I can showcase to you guys the best way and most efficient way to get immune to the bleed, or to at least make it so that it doesn't affect you at all, because it can tick your health away and it can be quite tricky. It can destroy your armor and you can die pretty quickly. So with this setup, the Backfire, you stack it up, 200 stacks, huge crit damage, and we've mitigated the bleed. Now the great thing about this is because of the global modifiers that are currently available, we can get 100% crit chance. That's why this gun is so good and one of the best, if not the best guns in the game, because it's got high crit damage. I can get over 340% critical hit damage. And when we proc this active modifier assault link, we can get 100% crit chance, which is wild, or depending on what your crit chance level is. Also, I can increase my crit damage here, get hazard protection per stamina tier, a blue core, which is really good, and get protection from elites. That's what I've gone for here. And the nice thing about all of this is I have chosen to pair it with the Visionario mask, which is unbelievably strong and perfect for this build. There are different ways of working this build, but let me showcase to you why I believe running the Striker 4-piece with the backpack and the Grupo chest and the Visionario mask, which is a named one, that is the Legatus SPA. This comes with 50% optimal range, meaning you can do damage from long ranges over 35 meters. So for me, this is perfect. Why would you not use this? Don't use a Jarl mask, the named Jarl mask. I wouldn't recommend that. But I mean, you can if you wish, if you feel like you don't need the optimal range, which would be silly because with an SMG, you get very limited range. With the Visionario, it means that you'll be doing huge amounts of damage from distance as well. And keep in mind, now the accuracy of the Backfire isn't amazing, but it's decent and you can do damage. So you don't have to rush enemies. That's why in legendary missions, I'm able to solo it because I can do damage from range. There's very limited damage drop off, which is important, which means I can hit harder from long ranges. So like over 35 meters, I lose around about 600,000 damage a bullet when I don't use this. So I'm increasing by 600k a bullet roughly, which is wild. So I recommend using the Visionario, guys. Very good. Go farm targeted loot. Very, very powerful. And that's why I've gone for this. Now you can go for something like the Chill Out Mask with bleed resistance mods because you want to try and mitigate the bleed from this gun. Chill Out Mask is good. You can use the named Jarl Mask. There's different ones. I would recommend, if I didn't want to use the Visionario, I would use a 2-piece Cheska because that gives me crit chance, which is actually quite useful in this build because we're rolling hazard everywhere. That gives me 20% hazard and the crit chance, which is nice. Very good combo. So, but don't worry about that. Try this. I promise you, you will never change it. You'll never change this build once you try the Visionario. Doing damage from pretty much any distance is so valuable. So the critical hit damage that I've gone for here, or should I say the chest piece bonus, gives me critical hit damage, which is Grupo. Now, if I was to use a Jarl, Jarl's difficult to farm, as you guys know. Difficult to craft because you have to find the pieces first to get the materials. And if I were to use a Jarl, I would be getting 10% hazard protection. Now, normally this wouldn't be effective what I'm doing now in PvP, for example, because we want to increase hazard protection, not just bleed res. But in this build, just getting bleed res is good enough because that's what we want to try and mitigate. This is not just a hazard protection build. We want to try and mitigate the bleed from the SMG. So if I do 10% hazard, that's fine. I wouldn't need to run a bleed res mod. But with this, if I had the Jarl piece, I would not be putting a bleed res mod on. I would be putting a critical hit damage mod, which will only be 12% because that's the max crit damage roll for a modification. So I'm actually getting 1% more crit damage using Grupo. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, that's negligible, but we're getting more from using a Grupo, and Jarl's just more difficult to get the right chest piece. So I recommend using a Grupo. It's very powerful. If you're struggling for crit chance, you can use a Cheska. So that is what I recommend there. So Striker 4-piece, it's just too good. The backpack is quite powerful. And I recommend going for every single piece of the Strikers is going to have hazard, or basically every piece is going to have hazard rolled. Every modification I've got is going to be critical hit damage, bar the chest piece, which is bleed resistance. So hazard protection on everything. I have got 2 blue cores, which is quite nice because remember, the more blue cores we have, the more hazard protection we can acquire. When you're playing, you can actually elevate this. You don't have to have the amount of hazard protection I've got on now. So that's why it's nice having hazard or kind of balancing it out because we want to try have some reds. I don't just want to be a tank, but you by all means can go for more blues. So like now, as you guys can see, I've got 57% crit chance. This goes over 340%. And taking a look at my hazard, I have actually got 95% bleed res. I slightly get hit by the bleed, but it doesn't affect me at all. As long as you get to 95, you won't even feel it, or even slightly above. We put 1 more blue, then you won't be put on the bleed at all. But remember, we can elevate this while we're playing, so you don't have to worry about it. This is a good amount. You can lower it or raise it. I wouldn't raise it past 97, 98% or 100%, obviously, but try and keep it here if you guys don't want to get hit by the bleed, or at least I would say don't go below 70, 75%, or even somewhere around about 65%. That'll be fine. So let's take a look at the other pieces now for attributes. I got weapon damage, obviously the crit damage, hazard, crit chance, very important. I need that extra crit chance. Bleed, res mod, visionario. I've got hazard protection. Try get one with hazard, and then roll armor. But you can have a red and then roll a blue somewhere else because it's easier to craft or to find these striker pieces. So that's what I would recommend. Now, if you guys wanted to balance it out with more blues, if you're going to be playing in like challenging difficulty or something like that, then you can go for more blues, which means you don't have to have as much hazard protection. Remember, because the more blues, then, you know, you'll be good to go. If you didn't want to use the globe modifier, you can deactivate it. As you can see, I've still got decent amount of crit chance. Just add one more roll of crit chance. And then you can have a look at my hazard, my bleed res. It's easy enough to raise this, put another 2 mods, or what you can do is just maybe even go for like a 2-piece chest gear if you're that desperate. But I absolutely recommend to give this combination a try. By far the best that I have gone for. Like I said, there are many different options here, but this one to me is the best. This Visionario gives you so much more damage from ranges, and if you guys were struggling with actually hitting shots because the accuracy of the gun isn't perfect, then I would recommend changing the chest piece talent. I've gone for Obliterate, so this gives me more damage, but what you could even do is change the chest piece talent to something along the lines of this right here, which is going to be Braced. Weapon handling, which will increase the accuracy, which means you can hit your shots from far away. Then it becomes even more of a laser. Also, with regard to the skill just choices here, decoy, shield. Don't use a shield, use the smart cover, because then with a tier 0, or you can, instead of using gunner specialization, which I've got, you can use technician, get an extra skill tier, and you can actually get, instead of 15% weapon handling, you can get some detox and 25% weapon handling from smart cover, which this is what I would do. It makes a big difference. Even a tier 0, it makes a big difference. That weapon handling will allow you to actually beam from range and make use of the named mask. So this is what I would recommend doing as well. It's just a match made in heaven. And if you have got someone in your group that can buff you, like a tier 6 one, that's what you saw in the beginning. All of that damage from a teammate giving me buffs from the new, it doesn't even have to be the new set, just a normal future initiative, giving me damage, opportunistic, empathic resolve, the smart cover with lots of buffs from that, huge amounts of weapon handling and damage starts out of cover. You can do like around 3 million damage, over 3 million damage a shot with the backfire with someone buffing you. It's wild. It's so powerful. And this build will work in a group, playing solo, wherever. The utility is amazing. It makes sense. It's arguably my favorite build right now to play in the new DLC, just overall in the game. I love this setup and I recommend you guys give it a try. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.